Welcome everyone to this special webinar. I have with me Ömer İnönü from Peak Games. Hello Ömer, thank you for joining us.
Hi Epec, thank you very much for inviting
me. And love the background. We'd like to mimic that.
Yeah, we're in our office and it just feels better. It's a real background, by the way. It's not a, it's on an effect. We're in our office in Istanbul and glad to be here.
That's great. So today we are going to talk about Peak, the story of Peak, and a Turkish gaming company's journey to the top. I know that most of you who joined the call and those who are going to view this later on are aware of this transaction that has taken place and that has been in the news. But firstly, we have some partners. We have Columbia Business School Chazen Institute as a partner for this webinar. We have the Columbia Alumni Association, the Turkish chapter, as a partner. And we also have the Columbia Business School Alumni Group as a partner. Thanks to everyone. We're going to have the format of about an hour, half an hour. We'll be having a chat with Ömer. And then the rest of the time we'll be taking in your questions. Some of you have sent already questions, but during the chat, please send your questions to the Q&A box, and then we will be taking them from there. So without further ado, Ömer, I wanted to start with your story. I know that you went to Columbia Business School. It's not the only school you went to, but then you and I had a chat this past week, and we've been talking about what prepared you for this kind of a journey yourself. So what took you to Peak, and then we'll get into Peak.
All right. So Epec, I graduated from a Turkish university, from Koç University, and then I started my career at investment banking, helping on M&A deals in a local boutique. And after working there for a couple of years, I went to CBS, Columbia, to do my business degree. And it was one of the best years of my life. 2 years in New York. I had some really good friendships built up there, and really enjoyed and learned a lot while in Colombia. But at the same time, I always regret one thing that actually then helped me become part of Peak, which was part of the MBA experience. As you know, Epec is always everyone in Colombia always pushes you to try something new, get out of your boundaries, get out of your comfort zone. This is a safe environment, try something new, etc. And I was so fixated about investment banking that I closed all my doors and just focused on one thing. And after graduating from CBS, I joined the Turkish conglomerate doing strategy and business development. But I guess that experience and that knowledge that there's something more in the world other than investment banking and M&A deals, I felt like why not? I didn't do it during my MBA, which was what I was regretting of, but why not make a leap of faith and try something new? And at that point, I figured what I want to do was something involved in tech. And I met Sidar through some connections, and Sidar is our founder and CEO. And my journey at Peak began in 2015. And I've been with Peak for the last 5 years.
That's great. And I know that, when we think of the gaming industry, or when we think of technology, startups, entrepreneurship in general, we think of Silicon Valley, we think of maybe other locations around the world like India and others. But Turkey, I know that we've had success stories, and then we can also discuss what's success, because it's not always transactional success. But it kind of woke people up to the fact that, yes, Turkey could be in those ranks in some way, shape, or form. I mean, was this an anomaly? Are these anomalies, or do you expect more success stories like that? Can you talk a little bit to that environment in Turkey? And then later we'll get to Peak.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the environment in Turkey, it's I'll have to couple up with Peak because
Yes, of
really
course.
the
Yeah,
reason
couple of.
why Peak started 10 years ago was because like to create these kind of ecosystems, these kind of environments from Turkey and show that it can be done from anywhere. That is the foundation principle of Peak. As you said, there's only one Silicon Valley out there, and even that it didn't start overnight. That's what we always try to say to people. Any success, any transformational change, any impact that is as huge as the ones that coming from Silicon Valley that affects every person almost globally. It doesn't happen overnight. It is accumulation of years and years, decades of experience, decades of companies forming and teams forming, people getting better and better at what they do. And eventually they create products, they create technologies that affect millions, if not billions of people out there. If you look at HP, it was founded in 1938, I believe, and IBM almost at the beginning of the century, Intel again, decades of experience when you think about it like that. So nothing happens overnight. So persistence and you really have to think big dreams and work really hard towards those dreams for a very, very, very long time. So that actual big impact happens. So Peak was founded in the idea that, okay, we're not in Silicon Valley, we're in Istanbul, Turkey, and it is not known, it is known for its beautiful landscapes and very nice environment, but not for its tech scene, obviously. But we said, why can't it happen from here? It can't happen overnight, we know that, but if we don't try, if we don't have big dreams and strive for those big dreams for a long time and persist, none of it can happen. So we said, let's try to build one of the largest gaming companies from Turkey, from Istanbul. We felt if we become a good team and really persist for a very long time, we will be able to create good products. We don't know what good is. We don't know how successful we will be, if ever successful. But we knew that just the journey, it will be immense fun. So that's how we started the company. And when we founded in 2010, none of us, no one had prior tech experience, prior gaming experience. Most of the people that joined Peak didn't even have prior work experience. That they first started with as a startup at Peak. So that is how we view our company and our journey. And let me tie that to your idea of definition of success, Epec, because that's also very important for us, because we didn't start the journey saying that, hey, we're going to create these immense products, we're going to reach millions of people and make a lot of financial success. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was really to have young people come together, become good teams, and have them the luxury to progress as both individually and as teams, so that they can create good products. And we didn't know what good meant, so we tried a lot of different stuff. We didn't know what we wanted to create. Gaming industry is huge, and there's a lot of genres, a lot of different type of games that you can create, and we didn't know what we would even like, you know. So we created strategy games, board games, card games, puzzle games, simulation games, social casino. We tried everything basically, and then we saw that we can only be successful if we focus on what we like best, and that was puzzle games and board and card games basically. So it was a long answer, but basically that's how we started.
Good, and it gave us a sense of that success is not just one leap forward with one big idea, but rather it's a lot of hits and misses.
It's a lot of hits and misses, a lot of small progress. Like sometimes we always try to put the emphasis on the team progress. That's our that's the only metric, and it's a very vague metric if you think about it like that. It's not tied to any KPIs, any financial metrics, but really individually and as teams, you really get the sense that if you're progressing as a team, if you are better, more harmonious, more at the decision-making level, at the execution level, if you're better than what you were a year ago, that's what we check out for each team, then we think that that year has immensely successful for us. Whereas financially, it might be a down year, up year. We don't look at it like that. We didn't look at it like that.
So I know that especially two of your games are in the top tier in iPhone games, and and this was part of your big success. But I wanted to find out how do you keep the pulse of the gamer? I mean, how do you feel that vibe? How do you keep up with it? And how do you predict the next products, next trials?
Epec, it is our games are really have, as you said, are two of the largest games in the United States at the moment. They are immensely popular. Millions of people are playing them on a daily basis, and tens of millions are playing on all over the world. And they are Toon Blast especially is one of the top 10 games in the United States at the moment, which puts it at the top echelon. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but there is a secret connection. The secret, I don't know if secret is right, but special connection, special is more accurate, between the developer and the player. And whatever we do within the game, it's because millions of people are playing it on a daily basis. The games are very live, very dynamic, and there's a very tight relationship with the developer, our team, and the user base. And whatever we do in the game, we always feel like we want to make the users more happy, because our games are puzzle games. They are fun, they are casual, and they are catered towards almost everyone. Like whenever we go to United States, take a subway, you'll all see, whether in New York or Austin or wherever you are, a couple of people playing Toon Blast or Toy Blast for sure in the subway. And when you have that kind of reach, that kind of impact in people's lives, you have to be very cautious and think about like the user. And we always want to make them more happy. If they're happy, if they're enjoying it, they play more. They enjoy more. They recommend the games to their friends, to their relatives, and it comes a very virtuous cycle. Whatever we do in the game, it's always thinking about whether the user base would like this feature or not, whether it would make them happy or not. And what we have seen is when people are happy, everything goes well, like they spend more time, they spend more money, so it really makes that connection really strong.
Growing a company like this must also be dependent on talent acquisition and how you grow that team. And from the values that you've described, I see that the team is extra important, and the growth as a team is extra important. I don't mean in numbers, but in terms of how you put it. So how do you work in acquiring new talent, in growing the team? And now that there is this new level for you, the new deal with Zynga, is it making any changes in your strategy of how you operate?
In terms of strategy, no, we won't change anything at the moment, but we still want to grow our team. We are right now a team of 110 people, all located under one single roof in Istanbul. And I can safely say that we are one of the smallest teams with the amount of people that we are touching, 100 people, and it's a very small team compared to our revenues and our user base. So that means that we need to. We are very proud of that, but at the same time, it's partially because of necessity as well. Because we're in Istanbul, we really all our talent acquisition is basically from Istanbul, and because the ecosystem is the tech or the gaming ecosystem was not very ripe, we always had to go for young people, mostly straight out of universities, having them join our teams and really getting them to learn how to make games, how to become a team, how to become better, be part of Peak in the long term. And we are very fortunate that there's Istanbul is a great city for that. We have great universities all over Turkey. Basically, we have great talent, but at the same time, it is also very. There are some limitations, obviously, and we always grow our talent from fresh graduates. The problem or the challenge with that is that for as you said, Epec, we want the team to progress always, but for that we always need time. So when we have I don't know 20, 30 people joining our company over the last year, those young, talented, and very ambitious our teammates need a lot of growth so that they can create even better products. So that's the challenge. Always making fast changes. It's not very very ideal for us. So every change, every growth, it becomes more gradual for us. But it has its own advantages as well, because we are persistent and because we are patient, then the teams that we create are extremely strong. But we always need time.
Do you envision you would have other offices at some point in time in the foreseeable future?
In the foreseeable future, I don't believe so. Over the past 10 years, we have seen that we operate best when we really are very close to each other. We have seen that being on the same office together really helps ourselves grow. Obviously, with the pandemic, we have seen that we could operate from home almost as good as from the office. But we always, like first couple of weeks, it was okay. But nowadays, we feel like we really miss the human touch. We really miss being in the same office, spending time together, having lunch, having some coffee, just talking about games or just talking about anything in general. We really like bouncing ideas from each other, from different teams. At Zoom, it is not very practical. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, for the foreseeable future, I think we'll be just from a single office, single location going forward.
Good thing you mentioned the pandemic. How has that affected your business and business model in terms of, I mean, you talked a little bit about the employee, obviously, mm-hmm. situation, which makes sense for many companies, but in terms of your user base, in terms of your fans, the fans of the games?
It didn't have a negative effect. So we are very lucky in that sense. Mobile gaming is one of the few industries that actually hasn't been negatively affected from the pandemic. So knock on wood on that front. In terms of business, our business model, nothing has changed. But we have seen that we could operate from this setting as well, and we could execute at the highest level and bring great content to our users on a bi-weekly basis. That's our release cycle. We create new content for our users every 2 weeks, and that hasn't been negatively affected as well. But as I said, we really miss being together. We have our all hands meetings on Fridays, and every week we feel like we should be together, but it is what it is. We have to wait a little longer to be together. Health comes first. But overall, we are very lucky that our business has not been adversely affected at all.
There's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs out there, in Turkey and elsewhere. I mean, if you had to give them some of your thinking and some of your thinking now versus when you started or when Peak started, or what kind of advice would you give them, especially in this new economic difficulty situation?
I mean, one thing that there's just not one thing that made Peak successful, but accumulation of things. But a couple of things that make that we emphasize a lot and we think are extremely important in any kind of organization, and especially for startups, is one, again, being a team. I can't emphasize it enough. Nothing. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're just starting your business, know that it's not only about you. You really need to have a lot of great people together to have any kind of success. And the second thing that we emphasize a lot is being patient and persistent. So there's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. In every business, it's like that. But if you think about the long term and persist, only at that point comes great success. That's what we believe. And the third part is like really having big dreams, just shooting for the stars, because it ties up to the persistence. If you don't dream big, then if you want to become the largest game developer in Istanbul, Beşiktaş region, then it's just it's very limited. You can achieve that very easily. But if you want to be the largest game developer in the world, then you're talking about decades of hard work, decades of people putting that effort, and really thinking, having big dreams. And that also ties to impact. If you have big dreams, then the amount of impact that you create, which also motivates the whole team, which should be the primary motivator, also helps. So to summarize, be a great team, emphasize the team aspect, emphasize big dreams, and then persist on trying to achieve those big dreams.
Thank you. Yesterday I was reading an article in Yetkin Report. I think it's available in Turkish and English, this article. It's by Ersu Ablak, and he was talking about the Turkish ecosystem for entrepreneurs. And he was mentioning that in Turkey, maybe elsewhere as well, we think of the entrepreneurship culture and startup culture as young people following their dreams, and let's enable the young people, and the entrepreneurship culture will flourish. Of course, young has many definitions, but at the same time, he was also mentioning that a lot of the more successful enterprises in the startup phase are started by not the youngest of people. So what do you think about this startup culture? Is it generational? And how is it in Peak? You talked about it a little bit, about your hiring policy and your startup, but just wanted to get what you think about generation, entrepreneurship, startup, and startup success.
On startups, Epec, as you mentioned, I believe, of course, being young, being it all. When you are young, when you have big dreams, big ambitions, you want to create big impact. So that ties very well with the startup culture, because every startup needs to have big dreams and wants to create big impact. So there's a very tight connection there, and knowing that more young people are gearing towards joining startups, creating startups, and just trying to achieve more impact with their lives. I think that's great, and that has been really growing for the last 10 years in Turkey as well. But at the same time, again, I haven't seen the report, but knowing that most successful startups are created by people that maybe have young spirits, but have also a lot of experience. Either themselves or the team has a lot of experience under their belt, and after that they create a great company. So it's really has like any successful startup has to have these two two ideas basically. One of them, the youth, the energy, the strive for impact, and at some point you also probably need some experience and some guidance as well. Sometimes that is given and provided by if you're lucky enough to raise some funds from the venture capital. Venture capitals provide this kind of guidance and mentorship. Other times the team has it, but I really believe that both of these elements have to come together to create a really great company. But not every startup needs to be successful. I really love when I hear young people just creating teams and trying what they think is best, trying an idea, going after chasing a dream. Even though it doesn't succeed, I believe that whole experience progresses the individual a lot, as long as they put their priorities into creating impact and growing as individual as teams, rather than trying to get financial returns as soon as possible. That aspect, I don't think anybody can be successful if they just focus on the financial returns. I think you're muted.
My last question, what's next for Peak, and what are some of the new goals for the company and the founders and the team?
For us, we just closed the transaction last week, Epec, and so our new life has started. But honestly, our new life is as the same as our old life, because as a team, we're just continuing as before. Sidar, our CEO and founder, as well as the whole team, we're just focused on creating great products, great games, as we did before. We have achieved overall, with Toy and Tumblas combined, around 500. We have reached 500 million users globally, and our goal is we live and breathe by not die, live and breathe by how we can make increase this number to billions. How can we reach more users with our existing products, and also think about ideas and ways of creating new products as well. But our whole focus is just executing at the highest level, creating great content for our user base. We think about how to make them happy. On one end, we try to grow our games in new geographies and how to reach new users all the time. And at the same time, also have some thoughts about what can we do next, what's the next, what kind of new ways we can create to reach new audiences. Basically, all of these are what we did over the last 10 years. But now we're going to do it under a new partnership together with Zynga. And we're just excited about that because it's a gaming company, and rather than talk with financial investors who are not very interested in games, now we'll talk with people, with partners that live and breathe games like ourselves. So we're just excited about what we'll create together, and we believe there will be a lot of learning both from Peak to the Zynga team, to the wider Zynga team, and that there will be things that we'll learn as well from them. So it's just a new beginning, and we're very excited.
Congratulations on the closing as well. And now I will ask my colleague Hannah Onat, who's on the call, who we will not see, but she will be asking
All right.
the questions that have come in for you. Hannah.
Thanks so much. And just a reminder to everyone that you can ask a question through the Q&A box. So I'm going to go to one question. It's from Tiffany Jalalan Sprague, and she said, I'd like to ask about Peak's diversity and inclusion strategy. Is this a priority for leadership? Do they agree with the studies that show that diverse teams improve innovation, performance, and profitability?
For sure, yeah. Diversity is very important for us, especially as a company that is in Istanbul. The 100 people team is coming from a very diverse backgrounds, mostly from Turkey, but from a lot of different backgrounds in terms of education, where they were born, what they have achieved so far. So that's certainly important. And for us, overall, we have a high ratio of a gender split between a good ratio, I mean, in terms of male and female. And obviously, we want to increase it and make it as almost 50%. But we're almost there. So we have on every facet of the company, whether that's the leadership team or on all our engineering, product, marketing teams, in terms of gender balance, we are at a great position, and we're almost there in creating total equilibrium. So we have still room for growth, but at the point, I believe that we are at a good spot.
Great, thank you. The next question is coming from Ilgun Yorulmaz, and the question is, how do you keep yourself and your company motivated when you see a competitor's product which may be superior to yours or seems like it's superior to yours?
That's a great question. We are always motivated in creating the best experience for our users, and whenever we see other products, other games, or any other product, and there's something that we like a lot, we really want to implement it in some shape and form into our products, and we really do a lot of tests in that regard, in trying to improve the user experience. Some of them work tremendously, some of them don't at all, but each trial lets us learn, and lets us get to know our users even better. At this point, we can say that we have two of the best puzzle games out there. But again, I could speak hours long on our products and what we need to do better. And the whole team is motivated in making our users more happy. And we know that if they are happy, that the results, whether financial or business-wise, would also come as a byproduct.
Thank you. And our next question is coming from Yusuf Işık. In Turkey, what are the most critical new policies which would make the startups expand and become more successful?
It's very hard for me to say recommend any policies in this regard. There's several policies given by the government, several incentives for new companies that is formed. But of course, there can be more of these. What what I can say or recommend is for the startup scene is that just for the Turkish startup scene in particular, that to dream, have bigger dreams and dreams that are not limited to Turkey, being successful in Turkey, but being successful globally. We are very both blessed and cursed in the regard that Turkey is a huge country with an 80 million population. Which is great, and it's a young population, allows us to have a lot of young people creating new companies and having new dreams. But the downside of having a huge population is that being successful in Turkey for some people might be enough. Because it's a huge country, you can create great products, great success within Turkey. But what we have seen, and it's also what makes Peak a bit more different, is that if you compete globally, you compete with the best talent all over the world, and competing with in that kind of environment pushes you further as a team, both individually and as a team, and then you can create really global products and learn how to execute the operation on a global basis, and that really pushes everybody further, and which even motivates everybody, all of us, because we know that wherever you go in the world, you'll have people, thousands of people playing our games, and we are motivated on thinking how we can make this even increase the number further. So having a global operation, global competition really creates huge impact. So my only recommendation there would be just if you're a new team starting out, try to build a global product. The impact to yourself and to your team, everything will be exponentially better in that regard.
Thanks. And kind of along the same lines, we have a question from Tayfun Bayazit, who was actually our first webinar speaker in this series, and friend and fellow business school grad. What are the chances of Istanbul developing into an important technology hub after Peak's success?
First of all, hi, Tayfun Bey. I'm really proud to say that over the past 10 years, Turkey, and especially Istanbul, but generally in Turkey, has become one of the largest countries in terms of mobile gaming. So we already have become one of the largest mobile gaming hubs in the world. We are ahead of all Europe, basically. Maybe just some Helsinki and London may be on par with Istanbul, but other than that, we are light years ahead on all over Europe. So and that has become not just because of Peak. Obviously, Peak has we had a great impact, but a lot of people have created a lot of companies, and now Turkey is the center of one of the centers of the mobile gaming universe. So in that regard, we're really proud, and we know that this will just accelerate even further after this news. And how this will transition to whether Turkey can be a technology hub. Again, I'll revert back to my opening remarks. It really requires time. In 10 years, we have had great strides in mobile gaming. When that happens, a lot of people will create a lot of great companies, and people will see that creating mobile products are really and creating global products really has great impact. So more and more people will join, and maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, Turkey and Istanbul might be one of the largest hubs. I really believe that this will happen, and I hope and also believe that our exit story, our transaction in that regard will motivate a lot of people to know that it can be done from Istanbul. It can be done from here, and more people will join in this regard. But we really need patience. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen because of a couple of policies. It won't happen because some just some outside investors. It will be like a very long marathon. Slowly and slowly, we'll get there. I really believe we will do.
I hope so as well. So the next question is from someone asking anonymously, what was the biggest hurdle you managed to overcome?
This is a tough one. We had several hurdles. One of them, I believe, like, if I think about our 10-year history, the decision to focus on just two types of games genres in our third year, which required us to close many games that made a lot of money and a lot of users, and just to focus on two areas where we think we could create much impact. It was a very hard decision to close a lot of games, just to focus that effort to create new ones. I believe that mind shift of having more, knowing that or betting on the fact that having less can mean more. That was a hard decision. And the second hard decision I can really say was when we had two great franchises. We had a great portfolio of board and card games, both in Turkey and United States. And we sold those games to Zynga back in 2017, just to focus all our attention to our casual puzzle games, Toy Blast and Toon Blast. I think that was also a very hard decision when you have two great businesses that overall have very different aspects that both are very promising, and we made the decision to focus on one of them and sold the other one, which because of that, those games that we sold the board and card portfolio within Zynga, they grew it 2 times, 3 times within the last 3 years. So they are very happy. We are very happy because we focused on puzzle games, and we managed to grow Toon Blast in one of the largest games in the world. So it helped everybody. But making that decision when you know that we have a profitable business, a great business, but the right decision is to focus on just one of them. It was very hard for us at that time.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Sanchit Warai. The question is, what attracts people to games? Have you studied the user ratings and reviews through the lens of behavioral analysis?
Yeah, we do a lot of behavior analysis, and our games are very casual and are geared towards everyone. So whoever is, everybody that are listening to us right now, I recommend each and every one of you to download Toon Blast or Toy Blast to try our games, and I'm sure most of you would love them. That's the beauty of our games. It's geared towards all age groups, across all geographies, and our users play them for a very, very long time. They don't need to play it every day, but it becomes part of their daily lives whenever they they are bored. They just want to get their heads off whatever they want to do. They played. So it really is geared towards everyone. One thing that we really emphasize is the user retention. In mobile products, the retention rate is the rate of how often users generally open the game in certain times, and our retention rates are the top of the industry. It's on par with many social media apps, which are the highest standards. Which can only happen if you really have a really great connection with the users, which ties back to making them happy, and making them happy in a meaningful way, which is what we focus a lot. All our games, both our games, have the highest ratings across the app stores, and I could talk about this all day. But it really comes down to a lot of testing and a lot of user feedback at the end of the day.
Thanks. And I have two questions that are kind of similar. One is from Prachi Jindal. What are some of the macro trends you see in the mobile gaming industry today? And very similar, someone else has asked, among the major trends shaping the casual gaming industry, which have had the most impact on Peak?
The first one I can say, first, it's getting really, the mobile gaming industry has become very, very competitive over the whole globally. Because of the competition, it really is much harder to scale and reach new audiences across the whole industry. So you see less new companies joining the fray and becoming immensely successful, because it requires a lot of capital, effort, and energy to create a truly great mobile game right now in the industry, which creates consolidation and also less successful games launching each and every year. So that's one trend. And the second one is maybe tied to this is the growth of hyper casual games, which is a category of games that are very easily adopted, easily arcade-like games that can be played again by everyone. But the retention rate is very low. So you just play it for a couple of days. It's like a flavor of the month. You change the game every week because they are very dynamic. The reason why these games are become very popular is that small teams can create these games very easily. A team of 3 or 5 people can create a game, these kind of hyper casual games, in a week or two, which enables a lot of game developers, especially in Turkey, joining this trend and creating new hyper casual games, which has become a very large driving force in the growth of Turkish mobile gaming scene as well. But it has also driven many other gaming hubs as well.
Thanks. And the next question kind of goes back to talent that you had been discussing. Is there a brain drain in tech talent from Turkey to Europe and North America that affects Peak's ability to find good talent? What's the current situation of the tech talent space in Turkey, and how does Peak compete with international companies in terms of hiring good talent?
We are very lucky in the sense that Peak is a very unique position in Turkey and in Istanbul, where we have the maybe I have to say this word, the luxury to attract and retain the best talent in Turkey. because of our policies. So we have not been adversely affected by the talent drain that has been happening. But obviously there is a talent drain, and it is affecting many companies. Probably it's affecting Peak as well on some degree, but because of our position, we are less adversely affected by it than many other companies out there. Having a small team and having and attracting the best talent in Turkey enables us to being less affected. I feel like it is a couple of years ago, the trend, like the more people were dreaming or aiming to go to Europe to work at in Berlin, in Amsterdam, in London. And these days, I feel it is less, but maybe it's just my perception. Maybe I don't know the numbers, to be frank. But it's obviously 10 years ago when Peak was founded, this was a lot less of a concern than it is right now. So I believe it affects overall the ability and the pace the Turkish tech ecosystem can grow because of the talent train. The pace will be slower, unfortunately.
Thank you. And now we have two questions again that are kind of similar. So one is, how do you decide what type of games to launch? Do you prefer rapid launching of many casual games or rely more on a small select number of key titles? How do you assess which game is showing more promise than others to invest further? And then the second question is, any plans to venture into esports or content creation / streaming to expand your audience? What would be your deciding factors?
All right. So we focus on, like, over the 10 years, we tried many different genres, and we decided on focusing on casual puzzle games. So we only think about casual puzzle titles and casual puzzle genre within that genre. So within that bucket, our approach is not, our release cycles are quite long. So over the 5 years, we just released 2 games, Torblast in 2015 and Toonblast in 2017. And we recently started working on new projects as well, but we don't have any timeline on launch dates or whether we will launch a new product or not. It really, our philosophy is each new game is, each new project is a new team. So we allow that team to really come together, think about stuff, talk about what they want to do, and give them the time and the luxury to try out what they want to do. And if they think it's good enough, then they have the opportunity to put that game on some test markets and do a lot of A/B tests with hundreds of thousands of users, so that they see, they look at the metrics, and there we only care about the retention rates, as I mentioned before, because that metric is the only is the key metric in telling us whether the users are really loving this game or not, and would play this game over the long term. We want any game that we launch, we want them to be part of people's lives for the next 5-10 years. So our development cycle is quite long. I hope I covered the first part as far as I can remember. On the second question regarding esports, our games, again, casual puzzle, even it is casual. So the esports, when you talk about esports, it's a competitive, it's more it's a more competitive area, so it doesn't transcend very well into our genre. Obviously there are people are trying to do puzzle games in the competitive space as well, but we haven't seen a a game that succeeded in that regard. So for us, it's not an area that we focus on a daily basis. Of course, we keep track of every facet of the mobile gaming industry, and esports in general is an area that we know and keep track of, but we don't plan on entering it anytime in the future.
Thanks. And then our next question, and I think it might be our last given the time, is from Jeremy Prisner. Google Play and the Apple App Store have been in the headlines lately, attracting the eyes of the regulators. How have both app stores helped or hurt Peak's success?
Well, here, I mean, this is a great question as well. There's a huge debate whether the App Store fees are legitimate, whether there are a lot of developers out there that they think that the 30% cut that the app stores are getting is too much, this and that. There's the regulator aspect, there's the power aspect of it, etc. But how we look at it is we're a team from Istanbul, and without having the Apple and Google's distribution capabilities, we wouldn't be here today. So having the option to have being present in all over the world, to have reached 500 million users, without these platforms, this wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to do that if it were a very diverse platform base. So we are grateful in that regard that Apple and Google have these distribution capabilities, which allow us to reach the whole world at the end of the day. But I truly get the sense that they also have a lot of power and can assert that power in a harmful way for some businesses. As a business, I wouldn't mind if they decrease their percentage cut from 30% to 15%. We wouldn't object, obviously, but overall, we wouldn't be here if those platforms didn't provide that kind of reachability and scalability to us. So we don't complain.
So thank you to everyone who joined, and thank you very much, Ömer, for being patient with all the questions. We wish you and the team at Peak continued success and have fun while doing it. The world seems to be your oyster. We hope for more success stories and more meaningful stories to come out of Turkey as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Epec, for having me, and thank you, everyone.